Do you know there are some secrets about booth rental that you just don't know yet? And we're going to talk about them on today's show without making any apologies. So watch out. Salon owners are some of the most amazing people on planet Earth. The only problem is sometimes their hearts are so big and they give so much of themselves to their staff and guests that it creates unintended consequences. Our goal is to change the industry by elevating the way the rest of the world sees salons, spas, and barbershops and give it the credibility that it truly deserves. This is the Salon Owner Evo Revo Show. Today's podcast is brought to you by Salon Scale, allowing you to charge by what you know, not by what you feel. So man, oh man, are there some things about booth rental versus commission that you need to know? If you're a commissioned salon, you're going to want to pay a lot of attention. And if you're thinking about becoming a booth rental salon, you're going to want to know this topic today because Doug and I were just talking about this. This is like the topic of topics that comes up all the time, Doug, right? People go, well, Jason, Doug, there's just so many booth rental salons out there. And maybe I should just become booth rental because they're better. And I just, I should just maybe become that anyway. And like, I hear this all the time. In fact, it came up in our group this week as they said, how on earth can a commissioned salon who offers benefits ever compete with booth rental? How could we ever compete? And I think we have the answer for you today. And it's called information. Yeah. I mean, is that a good way to frame this today, Doc?
Yeah, I mean, because a lot of it is it's a lack of information on both sides. Yeah. There's a myth out there that booth renters make more money because if you look at it simply on its face, then it looks like it. Well, if I'm making 50% commission, right, the owner's taking 50% of my money that I'm earning. But that's not the whole story. So we're going to get through on the whole story.
Right.
But then
whole story today.
Informed decisions. I think that's the biggest problem. Is people make so many decisions in this area that are misinformed. I mean, there's a lot of commissioned salon owners that actually believe that booth rental is better for somebody than working at their salon. If you believe that, you're never going to be able to hold your position. And hopefully that's not true. I mean, if you really look at the numbers and compare apples to apples,
and we're going to show you actual numbers.
We're going to show you what it looks like. Now, I mean,
everybody else is not going to show you numbers. Doug and Jason showing you numbers today.
If you're paying 20% or 30% commission, then yeah, you may have a problem. But if you're paying in the 40s and you're up to around 50, then 9 times out of 10, it's going to be the same money, whether you're working one or the other, or commission comes out ahead. Because there's just other factors that come into play. And when you paint the whole picture, then it gets better. And that's one of the things too that I think commissioned salon owners have done a poor job. One, I think they're not informed enough about the big picture. So therefore, they have not equipped their staff to have a conversation with friends and family that are telling them, why are you being so stupid to let them take all of your money? Why are you being, well, I really like working there. I love the people I work with. Yeah, but you're letting them take half your money. That's stupid. You should do your own thing and keep all the money. Look how much money you're losing every year. And if you have not given them any tools to look back and say, no, you don't know what you're talking about, let me show you. I'm actually coming out better at the commissioned salon place. But I mean, we're putting people in these positions to where they're being beat up mentally, but sometimes by their spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, about calling them an idiot for working. Parents, right? For work. Why
other people who have become renters that they know,
right? And the whole thing's built on a myth. It's built on looking at a superficial set of numbers that do not paint the real picture. You paint the real picture. Now there are cases that you may say, booth rental, I'm making the same money, but I really want to have complete control of my schedule. I want to be off when I want to be off. I want to come and go when I want to come and go.
I only want to work Wednesday and Tuesday afternoons or whatever the thing is.
And I'm not, I'm not concerned about having any kind of legacy. I'm not concerned about having anything to, a retirement program or something that I could, leave with, something I could sell. If that's fine and that's great. But I prefer people to go to booth rental because they've made an informed decision, not because of some. And I think the thing is, a lot of them have learned, but they would never say it, that when they find out the truth on the other side, because the only way that I've seen, unless, like I say, if somebody's paying 25 or 30% commission, the only way that I see that you do better on the rental thing is if by accident or by on purpose, you are not paying your taxes. Because that's the
not
one.
reporting your tips or,
Right.
doing something
Well,
else
just
that you're
even,
not paying.
so, right. Self-employment, it's self-employment tax. So whenever you're employed, it's probably one of the things that I think a lot of people don't know. Whenever you're employed, the employer pays half of your payroll taxes.
Right.
So they pay 7.65, you pay 7.65. When you go self-employed, you pay all of that, but you now pay that on your full price and your full tips minus whatever expenses you have. So if you're getting 50%, you're only paying half of your employment tax on half of what you're charging. Whenever you go self-employed, now then you may have 15, 20% expenses. So say you've got 15% expenses. So now you're paying your half on 85% instead of 50%. Now you got to pay the other half because you're now self-employed. You start adding those numbers up, and then the other things that you have to do, and you took it time and money, it really comes out even, or commission comes out better. And it's just people don't take the time to look at it. They look at, somebody that salon owner's taking half your or taking all this money from you, and it's like, well, if you knew what you were talking about, then and I think it's such a disservice. And really, I think as salon owners, we've done a disservice for the people at work because we have not done a good job of arming them with the information so they can have the conversation. We're setting them out there like sitting ducks for all these people. And their only thing is like, but I love where I work and I love the people I work with. And so in their mind's like,
that's not a good enough reason to most people.
Yeah. I'm willing to make less money to work with people I really like. And that's just not true. Why are we letting people live in these delusional
Don't believe the myth. So here's the thing. If this is a hot topic for you, would you guys do me a favor and say hot topic in the chat? As you can tell, we're fired up and we're passionate about this. And if you, producer Bob, if you can tease the spreadsheet for a second, just put it up for a hot second. We are literally going to talk about numbers today. We're going to go through the numbers of what it actually looks like to rent, be a booth rental versus commission. Take it down. Too much time. That was enough of a tease. That was enough. We're going to get there. So here's the thing. I want to talk about two subjects, and in just a minute, we're going to talk about the spreadsheet, is that there's a book that you need to read, and it'd be really important for you as a business owner to read this. And if you're thinking about going into business ownership, okay, meaning renting a booth. And by the way, we'll talk about, is it really business ownership or is it really owning your job? Because that's another topic too here, okay? We'll get to that. But there's a book called E-Myth, was written by a guy named Michael Gerber. And he talks about something that's really important. Is he says that what happens in people, and I'll make the salon version of the E-Myth, okay? Is that one day a stylist working inside a salon goes to work on a Saturday and has a full day worth of clients loaded up and ready to go. And they realize they go on their social media and they see that the salon owner is out on their boat for the weekend, enjoying the summer, and they have to work on a Saturday, and the owner is out enjoying life, doing something else, and they go, well, wait a second, that owner doesn't work behind the chair anymore. They don't do anything. In fact, I do all the work around here. I'm the one bringing in the most revenue. In fact, I'm the number one income producer inside this entire salon, and they have what Michael Gerber calls an entrepreneurial seizure. Okay, an entrepreneurial seizure that goes, wait a second, instead of giving up my money, because I earn and I give up some of my money, instead of giving up my money to the salon owner, maybe, just maybe, I should go into business for myself and become a, quote, business owner and go off and be a rental. I can rent because for $200 a week, $300 a week, whatever the amount is that you have in the area that it would be to rent a booth, right? As a weekly rent, you could go rent by yourself and you go, wait a second, the quick math on that works out really well, right? Because for that $200 or $250 a week, that's way less money than how much I pay, quote unquote, the salon owner for the privilege of working inside that salon. And so they have this entrepreneurial seizure. And so they start looking into booth rental and they go, wow, it is actually really cheap to go rent a booth somewhere. That's probably easy enough. And most people reduce rental versus commission to that math, and they don't really understand what it's about. The other way to look at this, and Doug, I was mentioning this earlier, is I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with multi-level marketing. If you are, type in MLM. But if you've ever seen like essential oils or Tupperware parties or Pampered Chef or any of those other things, somebody was telling me there's one for like cryptocurrencies now. And I remember when I was 16, 17 years old working my parents' business, people would come into their business all the time and try and get me off in the corner. And they go, hey, I know you work here at this business, but you should really look into owning your own company. Do you know for $150, you can very quickly go become your own boss and work for whatever you want. And the allure of becoming your own boss and being your own business owner becomes very inviting to most people. And they fall into the trappings of what's called a multi-level marketing company, where it's like, hey, for $150, you buy yourself a kit and congratulations, you're a business owner. The only problem is you're not really a business owner. They just give you the title. And I think what Doug and I really want to do is like actually show you what it's like to run your own business and understand what it's like to run your own business, because I don't think people understand it. And the only way they can make the math work is if, to Doug's point earlier, is they start cheating on their taxes, or they start, keeping things under the radar. They run more things to their business. So we got to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to dive straight into this spreadsheet. We're going to talk about the numbers. And if you're pumped about the numbers and you're glad we're having this subject as a topic today, do me a favor and say glad in the chat. And we'll be right back in about 60 seconds.
I couldn't hear what you said. Hey, HPSA listeners, let me ask you this. Are you tired of not knowing what your hair color is costing you on every appointment and watching it chew up your profit? Well, with Salon Scale, we take the guesswork out for you. Using a mobile app paired with a Bluetooth scale, Salon Scale will tell you exactly what your color is costing you on every bowl mix down to the gram. As you mix, Salon Scale will also digitally store your formulas and track how much product is being used in real time, so you can manage your inventory, cover your expenses, and generate more profit in your salon. Use promo code HPSA10 to get 10% off an annual subscription. Salon Scale, the new standard for mixing color.
All right, welcome back to the show. We are talking about the difference between booth rental versus commission, and the myth that you have your staff being sold to that is telling them over and over again, your friends and family, why are you giving up half of your income to that salon owner when it just costs $250 a week to go rent a booth down at the corner? You could go make more money over there. And then the added benefit of a lot of people are leaving to go do that, so therefore it must be superior. And last time I checked, Doug, anytime a herd of people is doing something, that is always the best thing we should be doing, is what I remember. Isn't that the way that rule works?
Yeah, especially on minimum information. I mean, if people just kind of get a whim and go, hey, this feels better, let's do this.
Right.
And I think, the entrepreneurial seizure is the thing, because people want to have myths, because I used to not be a business owner, and I had a lot of misconceptions about what it was to be a business owner.
Same, man, same.
And one of the things too is that you got to be real. It's like, if you're a booth renter, you're not a business owner. I mean, yes, you can get a business license, but so the way I define a business anyway is that it's something that you could sell. It's something that someone would buy without you being a part of it. You could say,
right.
I've got whatever that I could sell it to someone, even if it's for $1, I could sell it to someone. The only thing that you might be able to sell is your client list, but then again, that's not worth much, because those people can make up their own minds.
They love you, and if they go to another person, like I can go find another person on my own. I'm not obligated to go to the people you told me to go to.
Right. So, I mean, it's like, so one, you gotta get clear on you own a job, which is fine. If that's what's good for you, if you have all the information and you've made an informed decision and you do it legally, then great. I think that there's nothing wrong with that. But I think what's going on a lot is, and it happens in the schools too. The schools are bad about, but you can be your own boss, you be your own. It's like, it's hurting the industry, because people on islands do not create great things. People in community create great things.
Yes.
So that's why I think in the commission-based salon works so much better, is because you have all that creative energy working together. If you're in a booth rental salon, it's generally a bunch of people on islands working against each other. You may have one or two people there that you like, and there are other people you don't like, and it's always suspicious. People can tell that just the energy when they walk into an environment, if it's a team working together, than not. And you can tell when you work it. If you're working at a good one that has good culture, you feel the energy. And that's the sad part, is when people don't have the information. They say, but I love where I work, even though I'm making less money. And it's just the thing is, that's just not true. So let's show them the spreadsheet.
Let's do it. Let's bust in the spreadsheet. If you guys are ready for the spreadsheet, do me a favor, type in the word spreadsheet, and we're going to talk about it. Okay. So let's put it up on the screen. Go ahead for me, producer Bob. Thank you, man. So let's talk about this. Okay. We got booth rental and commission. Hopefully you guys can see this. Okay. If you can, I'll see if I can make it a little bigger as you guys are looking at this. But the idea here, and if you guys are listening to this, you'll have to listen to these numbers and go back and try and find the show on video, and you'll be able to see it. What we talked about as a booth renter. We're going to use an example of using $4,500 a month in income. Now, I know some people make more than this, less, but we're using the exact same amount in both scenarios. $4,500 per month in services. And we also did this. We're going to compare retail the exact same way. So we're going to say $4,500 a month in service and $900 a month in retail. And somebody already asked, is the spreadsheet available in the portal? For our members in the High Performance Salon Academy, you guys have full access to this spreadsheet, and you guys can use it and break it down, do whatever. If you're just listening on the show and you want to get this spreadsheet, do me a favor, send me a message and I'll tell you about how you can become a part of our academy. That's where you can get access to this. Okay. But, so again, $4,500 in service, $900 in retail. So here's how you look at that. Is if you're a booth renter, you might go, okay, if I'm going to make 10% on my retail that I sell, because again, you've got to have expenses, then here's how much I make in retail income. If you were in a commission salon, you would get paid what's called a retail bonus, which is typically 20%. And so that kind of gives those numbers. Then if you look at this tips, we're leaving that exactly the same, 20%. We're being generous on tips here. So it's $900 in tips, $900 in tips. So if you look at it, the rough numbers right out the gate, again, $55.80 gross for commission, $54.90. Doug, I want you to explain this. I know it's going to come up. Why do we assume that you're going to make a little bit less money on retail if you're in a rental salon, or if you're in a rental situation?
One, I think that's being very generous that you're showing that you would make 10% off of it, because most booth renters do not run their own retail. Most of the time you have retail that the rental salon is offering, and most of the time their maximum they're going to give you is 10% if they're going to give you anything. But for a stylist to go purchase and stock and sell her own, it's very rare.
Probably not.
And there's, to be honest, most of the time in a booth rental situation, you don't have enough room to stock it, and that's all that stuff up on the shelf. And so there's multiple things there. You know, you can't prescribe your client what they need, or they have to go to another store to get it. It's just not convenient.
Send them to Ulta.
Right. That 10%, I think, is if anything, generous. A lot of the booth renters that I know, they don't really even fool in the real retail game at all, because it's like, it's not worth fooling with it. It's a little bonus check doesn't do me any good.
Right. No big deal.
Sometimes the rental salon will tie it to how much rent you're paying, but still, it doesn't come out to what it would be if you were in a commission salon.
All right, so let's keep going here, Doug. Let's keep going. So guys, check this out. So as we go from, income here, again, in rental, $54.90, gross income in commission salon, $55.80. That's off the top, okay? Yep. Now, in a commission salon, we're gonna be generous. We're gonna say 50% commission here. So you're gonna make $22.50, okay? $22.50. And that means your paycheck income before tax is $3,330. It's your paycheck income. If you remove your FICA tax, the tip, if your FICA tax here and your income tax, it puts you at about $2,400, $2,409.26 exactly, to say take home over here on the commission side. So you've brought in $5,500, you take home $2,400. That's what you'd end up netting. Now look over here. We talk about on the rental side, booth rental goes from roughly the same income gross, and look at this, the same income, $2,408.26. It's literally $1 difference between booth renter versus commission. But how do we do that? Because this is the math most people miss, right, Doug?
Yeah, I mean, because this thing we walked through. So one, you've got your, we did put it back up there, Bob. If you have, the 7.7 or 2.75 credit card fees, because you got that happens on your tips and on your regular charges. Yeah.
Even if you're using Square, right? You're swiping Square or something like that.
So then we look at supplies, and 7.5% is typically the cost for any salon. It's in that range. So yours is a micro version of that, so that percentage should be the same. And then we've got your weekly rent, and then we've got that, and that's $250. Sometimes that's very low for some areas, maybe slightly high, but I have rarely hear of anything under $200.
Right.
So that monthly is $1,075. And then you got to pay for your booking software that generally runs around $100. So you get your expenses, then you get your net income, then you've got that self-employment tax, and then you've got your income tax, insurance, and licenses. And at the end of the day, I think we're within almost $1 of each other. But then there's some other things that happen below that. So this is just the apples and apples up front of where we're ending, but then we've got to take in the other things that happen for you automatically at a commission-based salon that does not happen for you in a booth rental salon, because you're it. There's nobody doing it. Anything else that has to be done by you. So you can either pay for it to be done, or you can spend your time doing it. In the bottom half of that sheet, we walk through what that would look like. And then it becomes dramatically different. There's almost $1,000 difference in
Yeah.
where that same
And
pay period, what that person would make.
Yeah, I think we can get into that in just a second. I think that the big idea here is that if you really know the math, if you actually know the math, and Bob, feel free to put it back up again, man. I want to see this one more time. If you know that there's credit card fees, supplies, the rent, booking software, self-employment tax, income tax, and your own insurance that you need to cover, and the income is identical, booth rental income versus commission income is the same, there's a couple factors that you need to be aware of. Number one is that if you have booth rental, if you're a renter in any sort of situation, you have control over everything that you do. Meaning, if you want to work less, you want to work more, etc. I don't know about you, man, but I don't manage myself very well. And I've been, my own business owner for a long time. I literally have people who help manage me in the business, because sometimes when you work by yourself, you're like, well, I don't really want to work today, or I'm not going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So that may be a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing for your income, because you start to plan to not work more often. And sometimes what we see is people who go to a rental environment actually reduce their production because they create more time, but there's still an advantage. So here's the other thing. The other thing that we see is once you're out of an environment where you have a team of people encouraging you and pushing you and promoting you and keeping you educated on what you're doing in the future, you start to drop off in your results. In fact, we usually see when people go to rental is they plateau, and whatever income they were at when they left their commission salon, they remain at or go down slightly when they're working for themselves. It's like they will never make more money. In some cases, there's people who make more money, but that's the exception, not the rule. Anything else you want to say about that, Doug? And then we'll talk about the other time expenses that go on here, because we've got a few more minutes. I want to make sure we hit it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is the value of working with a team versus being on an island by yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's what I'm saying. You get here at this stage of the equation, you're basically even. So you got to decide: is it worth me, leaving and doing this and losing that team and losing that support, losing the retail to be able to sell, losing the choice of color, because as a booth renter, you can't afford to have the full spectrum of any color line sitting in your booth. Well, one, you ain't gonna be able to hold it in your booth. So you're just not going to have that available to you. So you're not going to be able to provide the level of service. It's another reason why you plateau. You quit getting education because you don't want to spend it, or you don't have someone booking it for you. And then you just don't have the selection to be able to service your client the way that you did at a commission salon.
So let's chat about other things. Then this is when Michael Gerber talks about the E-myth, entrepreneurial myth, right? It's this idea that you don't quite know yet what it means to run a business and where the other time expenses or costs are. So what Doug and I did is we said, okay, well, what if we did this? What if we broke it down, and I'll kind of focus in on this area right here, other potential expenses that you may not have considered. So number one, you either will pay someone to do your taxes, or you will have to do your taxes on your own. So we wanted to make sure that our justification was either you pay to have somebody do it, or if you spend it an hour. So quarterly tax preparation, you now got to prepare your taxes every quarter. You're either going to pay somebody $100, or it might take you 8 hours to do it, right? If you did it personally. You now have your own marketing expenses. Now you might go, well, wait a second, Jason, I just post on Instagram. That's not paying $250. Okay. Well, what about the 5 hours that you have to post in a given month? That's only 1 hour a week. I think that's generously low, right? It's saying you spend 5 hours a week. Booking appointments. You either pay somebody to book your appointments. Maybe you get a receptionist, or you're paying somebody to handle your bookings, or you spend that 25 hours a month, right? That's 5 hours a week dealing with bookings and appointments and things like that. Continuing education. You got to pay for that. So maybe $50 a month that you pay to go take a class somewhere. Or you figure out you at least got to burn your time 3 hours somewhere. Accounting software that you're going to use to prepare your books and keep track of that. That's another $50. Or you do it on your own. That's 4 hours. And you're also going to potentially pay for equipment and tools that the commission salon may not. So look at it this way. You may have an additional $550 a month in expenses that you need to pay for, or you burn 45 hours in a given month. Now, Doug, I think we did this math. I don't know that it's on here, but I want to do it real quick. So look at it this way. I thought this was a good math. Is if you take that 550 hours and you divide that by 45 hours, that's $12 an hour. If you wanted to save money and do it on your own, right? Then all of a sudden you're making $12.22 an hour for that amazing amount of running the business that you're doing, right? So you either pay the $550, or you make $12 an hour for 45 hours to do that on your own. And now if we pay that $550 though, this is interesting, right? Take your $2,400 a month that we were earning, right? Now your take-home income is $1,800 for the month because you had to either spend the time, you either need to add 45 hours worth of administrative work to your business now, or you pay $550 to do the exact same job. You're now taking home $1,800 per month. If you don't like that number, say don't like it in the chat, or maybe you're a commission salon owner and you're like, no, I actually want all of my staff to know that number because then that would make a better informed decision. Then the other number I want to pay attention to, I only got a couple more minutes left in the podcast, I'm going to squeak this in, is what are the other potential benefits of working in a commission salon? Continuing education, they're going to do that for you. If your salon provides continuing education, that may be worth $100 to you. Paid vacation, if they do that in the salon, that may be worth $75 a month for you. Health insurance, if it's offered, may be worth $200 a month to you. They may, unemployment is available through that. Your 401k, they may be contributing to. They may be supplying tools for you. They may even supply you with an associate. There's other things that they may apply. Now, I know not every salon supplies every single one of these. We just kind of gave some examples of what could be supplied. That could be an additional $592 in a positive way, that would add to your kind of like unknown income, meaning that's income that you don't necessarily see as income that hits your paycheck, but it's value that you receive just working in that salon. Right. So if you look at the value you receive in working in a commission salon, that could be up to $3,000 a month in value as a real number to look at, with zero extra time in that business. You clock in and clock out, versus in a booth rent scenario, it's $1,800. Now, last time we started this conversation out, and I want to end on this note, Doug. How do you make more money in a rental situation if you're supposed to be making $1,800 and versus a commission you're making $3,000? There is a way to make more money as a renter. You mentioned it earlier. I want to end on that note. What is the way you make more money?
Well, if you cheat on your taxes, I mean, if you start hiding what you're doing and all that, and I'm sorry, that's when everybody. I'm not a fan of paying taxes, but it's the law. I'm going to pay taxes. I'm a big proponent of, if you want to change the rules, then let's change the rules, and the rules change for everybody. But the rules are the rules. Learn how to play the game. Play by the rules. So if you're going to do it, play by the rules. I mean, if you're going, otherwise it's like, there's a street corner open, drug dealers. If you want to go be a drug dealer and not pay your taxes on that money, that's available too. And if you think that's a harsh comparison, it's like, I don't care. If you're stealing money from the government, and especially if you're taking any kind of financial aid, including child tax credit, then you're taking money from other people. It's just fundamentally not fair. It's like, let's all play if you want to change the tax laws, we can have a different conversation about that. Laws are the laws. Pay your taxes, do it the right way, get the real numbers. And if it still makes sense to you, okay. But one of the ways I'd look at this, if you just looked at what we did, is they doing what I'm doing right now. Would I go get a job at McDonald's and work another 45 hours a month?
To make that $12.
Right. Yeah. To make the same money. Probably not. So I just say, I think hopefully you're all more informed today after that example. If you'd like to know more about that, I mean, it's one of the things that we talk about. We try to empower the people that work with us in the academy to have proper information. I'm not trying if we're apples to apples, everybody's paying their taxes, and let's get a real picture out there. Then people can make a real decision, and we're not harming people or confusing ourselves with false information.
So I want you guys to get this on this final note. And thanks, Crystal, for saying what you did. She said 100% all over this thing. And again, Jennifer said, worst thing that ever happened in salon industry, booth rental. Look, I don't think that the booth rental is the worst thing that's ever happened. I think what is happening is that people are uninformed. They don't know all the information. And I actually think there's a place for rental and there's a place for commission. The problem is that there's a myth out there that you make more in rental. And I think that is BS. We just showed you
that's
with
the
facts and
that's
figures.
happened.
If somebody wants to call and argue in on these numbers, I invite that conversation. Let's have it, because if you think that those numbers don't exist and you want to argue that you don't have to pay for that, or there's other ways to do it without paying your taxes, show me your math and we will talk. We'll have you on the show. Send me a message. We'll have the discussion. But I think that people have, thank you, Jennifer. Said what I meant is it's not for everyone. I think that people in general view booth rental. They have that entrepreneurial seizure and they view booth rental as the best alternative. And they're like, I just wish everybody would hear that that's the thing. And I wish everybody would just let people go and go do what they need to do and create all that opportunity and do it. And I just think it's simply not true. So I hope this was educational. As you can tell, we are fired up about this subject because it's one of the most important things that we can talk about. Thank you guys for joining us today. Crystal said, check this out. Crystal said, I went from commission after 18 years and now I make way more after going commission, after renting, I think is what she meant there.
Right.
After renting, now she makes way more money. So
That's
totally
true. I've got
agree with
people that
Crystal.
work for me. That's the same thing. Their income is up by $30,000 because of the environment and the structure that they're working inside of. I mean,
I'm going to end the show.
information.
I'm ending the show right there. Let's put a fork in it. Call her done. And if you guys want to dispute the numbers, call me. We'll do another show. I'd love to chat about it. I hope this was helpful. If it was, tag somebody in it. Let them hear it. Know the truth. Get it out there. No more myths about booth rental. Can we get over it? Can we move forward? Can we state the facts and talk about them in real time? That's it for today. Thanks for joining us, guys. Have a great day. Thanks, Doug.
Later.
Thanks for listening to the Evo Revo podcast. Today's podcast was brought to you by Salon Scale, allowing you to charge by what you know, not by what you feel. Please subscribe, leave us a review, and you can always get more information, including show notes and the video episodes at evorevopodcast.com.